Numbers can be great fun when you put them in the form of puzzles. So today's puzzle is going to be something known as 3 threes. And the rules of the game are roughly as follows. You have to use the number 3 precisely 3 times. You can't use it any more, you can't use it any less. Now, what you have to do is, using 3 threes, you have to get to numbers all the way from 1 to 10, and we'll give you some math operations, of course, that you can work with. So the math operations that we'll give you are plus, minus, multiplication, division, and in addition to these, you can also use decimals, you can use square roots, and you can use factorial. So in case you've forgotten what factorials are, then 3 factorial is just 3 times 2 times 1. Now, please note that you should be very careful in the way you place your brackets so that there's no confusion to the expression that you actually derive. To give a sense of how you might get started, right? So let's just actually start you off on the puzzle. Imagine that you wanted to get to the number 1 using 3 threes and using the math operations that we've just given you. So 1 could just be the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which is 3, divided by 3, which is 1. Okay? So what you're now going to do is use 3 threes and the math operations that we have given you to get to numbers 2 all the way to 10. We suggest that you go ahead and pause this video, get yourself a pen and paper, and have a shot at this puzzle yourself. So we'll be back after the pause with the solution, of course, but in the meantime, I think it'll be great fun if you actually had an attempt at this puzzle yourself. Okay, so let's get started. So we'd already done the number 1 for you. So 1 was just the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 divided by 3. So root 3 times root 3 is 3. Divided by 3 is just simply 1. Now, if you're trying to get to the number 2, 2 would be 3 minus 1. So that's 3 minus, we can construct 1 by doing 3 divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. If you're trying to get to 3, then that is, let's say, 3 times 1. So that would be 3 times 3 divided by 3. If we want to get to 4, that would be 3 plus 1. So that's slightly easy because that's 3 plus 3 divided by 3. So 3 plus 1 is just 4. 5 is a little bit tricky. So 5 would be something like 3 plus 2. Is one way of looking at it. So that would be 3 plus, now we need to construct a 2. So we can do a 3 factorial, which is 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So remember that 3 factorial was actually just 3 times 2 times 1. So that is 6. So that's 6 divided by 3. This quantity turns out to be 2, so 3 plus 2 becomes 5. Okay, now 6, the number 6 is slightly easy. 6 would just be 3 times 3, which is 9, minus 3, which gives us 6. 7 is, so 7 we can think of as 6 plus 1. So 6 is, can be obtained by 3 factorial. So that is 3 factorial plus 3 divided by 3. So recall that 3 factorial is just 3 times 2 times 1. So that is 6 plus 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that is 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. 8 is slightly tricky, needs a little bit of thought. So 8 can be thought of as 6 plus 2. 6, as we know, is 3 factorial. And now if we need to construct 2, that would be 3 factorial, which is 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So that quantity is 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 factorial is 6. So 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. 9 is more straightforward, because 9 is just simply 3 plus 3 plus 3. And 10, our final number, is the slightly tricky one. It needs a little bit of thought, but recall that we had said that you're allowed to use decimals as well, and so far we have not used any decimal. So there's a hint that you might want to use the decimal here. So if we have 3 divided by 0.3, that will give us 10. But we are only using 2 3's. We need to use 3 3's. But 3 can be written as the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 divided by 0.3. And that gives us the number 10. And that brings us to the end of this puzzle finally. And I think we deserve a little smiley face.